everybody can introduce themselves. So I will start. I am Shauna Lazeski. I am the Topaz team leader. I also teach Spanish and French. Mr. Fleming, your turn.
Hi, I'm Mr. Fleming. Can you hear me okay? We're good. I'm Mr. Fleming. I'm the social studies teacher on Topaz.
Heather, I don't know if you can mute and unmute at the same time.
Sorry, this is going to be a little bit of a learning curve. Hi, I'm Heather Roki. I teach science on the Topaz team.
Kim?
Hi, I'm Kim Harrell. I teach language arts on the Topaz team.
Stacy?
Hi, I'm Stacy Grindle, and I am the art teacher for the 6th grade extended team on Topaz.
Abby?
Hello, I'm Abby Condon. I'm one of the 6th grade resource teachers.
Coach Flaherty?
Mike Flaherty. I teach health and PE for all 6th grade.
Sue Ellen?
Hi, I'm Sue Ellen Crawford, and I teach math on the Topaz team.
And Mark?
Hi, I'm Mark Faticoni. I teach 6th grade general music for all 6th graders, actually.
And so on our extended team this year in for advisories, our students have Coach Flaherty, they have Stacy Grindle and Mark Faticoni. Mr. Gussie, I know you're here as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mrs. Gussie. Hi, I'm Justin Gussie. I'm one of the assistant principals at King Philip, and I work with the Topaz team, as well as Diamond, Opal, and Ruby.
And Kim, did I miss you? I didn't miss you, did I?
No, you didn't. I introduced myself.
Perfect. All right, we are ready to continue. All right, so a few things, just some business housekeeping. Please just keep your microphone muted. It just saves all the background noise. If you have any questions, we are going to do some breakout sessions by academic content area at about 7:10. So those links were emailed to you at 5 p.m. Abby and I will stay on this meeting to help you navigate if you need assistance. If you have specific questions related to your child, we do ask that you just email us directly. And tonight we're going to share some important KP information with you, some Topaz team specific information with you, and then we'll do a general overview of each of our content areas. We did send out our course expectations the past 2 Fridays, so hopefully you did have a chance to see those. I don't know if our school counselor has made it to this meeting quite yet, but we are fortunate enough at King Philip to have 3 school counselors associated with 6th grade and with the Topaz team. So John Sikowski is our current 6th grade school counselor. He sees many of our students. He has introduced himself to many of them. So hopefully they have come home and shared that with you. And we also have 2 additional support counselors. We have Erica Graff. She supports students, as well as Katie Bond in all 3 grade levels. So to give you a little background, students are able to meet with Mr. Sikowski. They have a Google Classroom that he has set up. He has been very good about checking in with students and making sure he meets them. If he were here, he would tell you his goal is to meet all 6th graders by Christmas time. So he's very excited to make sure to meet each and every one of your children. They meet with students by individual appointments, sometimes in small groups. They also teach lessons. They've already taught 1 lesson in the science classroom. They will be offering this year some parent workshops that we would definitely encourage you to access if they're of a topic of interest to you. Feel free to reach out to him or other counselors should you have specific questions. They are great at responding. They did do a quick video, Mrs. Volke, if you want to click on that as well, please. I just saw a comment that there was no sound, so we will make sure that that video link gets sent to you along with this recording so that you can just hear them introducing themselves. If John were to pop in, we'll make sure to introduce him to all of you as well. So we're going to just give you a quick overview of some KP and Topaz information before each of us takes over and talks to you about our content. This year, students have an advisory period. It's at the end of period 2. And so it's right in the middle of the morning. Our focus is to build relationships with our students. Each advisory is between 12 and 14 students. They check in with one adult. They have time for a snack and a mask break. We start each advisory with some school news and some general announcements and information. And each of our advisory days has a different focus. We start with some getting organizational skills with them on Mindful Mondays, which is not always on a Monday. It's the first day of the week. We check email, we check Power School. We're working on encouraging students to be self-advocates. We also have a couple of days during the week where we encourage a lot more connecting with the kids in their advisory than just their friend groups. So on Tuesdays, we do some Talk to Me Tuesday activities where they get to know different information about their peers. They've done a Kahoot where they've talked about what they like. They have done different questions. If you could be a superhero, who would you be and why? On Wednesdays, we have very specific activities we do with them focusing on our social emotional learning. So they might have already come home and mentioned to you that they have seen the mood meter, which is the picture graphic in the bottom corner. We have done some social justice lessons. This week, we started our Vision of the Graduate, which is a district-wide unit. And students this week focused on honesty and respect. There are 8 attributes and habits of mind that are in that Vision of the Graduate that carries them from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade. And we are also very fortunate to have some amazing web leaders. Those are our 8th grade leaders. And they have come down several times to do some great activities with our 6th graders. I had a group of web leaders come to my room to work with Mr. Faticone's advisory. Totally out of the blue, they came in, they wanted to sit down, they made bracelets for the kids, they asked them some questions and got the kids really talking. So it's nice to see our 8th grade leaders meeting with the 6th graders and just have some fun in a little bit more a relaxed environment. You can go, oh, Chromebooks, that's you, Mrs. Roki.
Okay. All right, so every student is assigned a Chromebook at school that they can carry around throughout the day. So they pick up their Chromebook before their first class and they return it at the end of the day. They plug it right into a Chromebook cart. So we just ask you to remind them to be careful as they're bringing their Chromebook around throughout the day because they don't have any covers on them and they are pretty fragile. In science class, we did go over Chromebook procedures. We went over how to get into their Google Classrooms, how to navigate the KP website, how to appropriately email teachers, and how to log on to Power School. And all this is in their Google Classroom, in their science classroom. So if there's anything that they don't remember, they can always go back and access it fairly easily. I'm going to mute my.
Okay, so in 6th grade, a nice perk is that we use Power School. So you should have your own user ID and password. If you do not, then you can reach out to the school counselor, John Sikowski, and we can give you his information, which is also on the slide when you get the presentation. Students will have their schedules in Power School. Grades will be updated regularly, at least every 2 weeks. So you can check in on there and see how your child is doing. We also use Google Classroom, and we have a Topaz team Google Classroom. On Mondays each week, there is a homework log that gets posted in the Topaz team Google Classroom. So a lot of students have been using that. If you are seeing that your child never ever has homework, you might want to check there and then check with them to make sure that they are getting it done.
I just want to chime in there as a reminder. This might be new for sixth grade families, the use of Google Classroom and PowerSchool. Students have a lot of control within the Google Classroom. So they might submit work that's fantastic, but it might be half done or only partially done or not done, and they submit it anyway, and it'll show as completed in the Google Classroom. So to really see progress, PowerSchool is the best place to look, because you'll see actually the grades, and the teachers have control of PowerSchool. Students don't have any control over there. So just if you see a disconnect between the two, reach out to us and we'll help explain that. Thanks.
And I'm going to chime in as well before she continues that you can also add yourself as a parent guardian to your child's Google Classroom. So you will be able to access their work and see what their assignments are and see what has been completed and or maybe graded and returned to your child.
Okay, so as this is your student's first year in middle school, things are a little different in middle school. You don't just have the one classroom teacher to contact. So we thought we would just run over who you should contact for different things. If you have a concern about a specific class, like a subject area, math, language arts, science, you should contact that academic teacher or the UA teacher directly, because they will be able to best help you with your concern. If you have a social emotional concern about your child, then that would be a call to or an email to our school counselor. Same thing if you have an issue in your family that you just want to make the school aware of, so that we can be, give us a heads up about what your child might be dealing with. That's always helpful, but that call or email should go to Mr. Sikowski, and he will be in touch with us as needed to give us that information. He can also help you if you're having PowerSchool password issues. So if you contact him, he can help you get that. When it comes to early dismissal, absence, or vacation. So early dismissal, you can send a note into the school and have your child give it to the period 1 teacher. And then that teacher will put that into the computer and send the note down to the office so that your child gets an early dismissal pass. If your child is going to be absent that day, you contact the office. And if your child is going to be gone for an extended time due to some, family vacation or family emergency, then that would be a call to the school office. If you have a general team question or concern in general about how things are going on the team, then you can contact Ms. Lazuski, our team leader, or your student's advisory teacher, and then that teacher can take that concern to the team. Okay.
So middle school is a big transition for your child. So I just want to go over some keys for success. First, make time to communicate with your child about school. Ask open-ended questions. A lot of times we might ask our child, did you have a good day at school? And then the answer is yes or no. But asking a question like, what was the best part of school today? Or what was a challenging part of school today? That can lead to a little bit more detailed of a response. Listen patiently and don't jump to give advice. I know a lot of times you want to kind of jump in with our own 2 cents or thoughts, but sometimes your child has already started to process and think about what might they have done differently or what they can do next and already put that plan together. And sometimes just listening can help help your child to kind of walk through what the next steps might be. Ask your child what they will do to solve school-related problems and encourage them to make a plan. We really try to encourage self-advocacy and also proactive problem solving. So instead of being reactive to, oh, I didn't do so well, or your child sees PowerSchool and realizes, oh, I got a bad grade on that assignment, or I didn't hand that in. Sometimes if we're proactive, well, I see that you don't have your homework assignment done yet. What can we do? Or you left your book at home, at school. What can we do in order to be proactive in solving that problem? Create a nightly routine for your child. Plan for homework each night. The homework's posted on the Topaz team Google Classroom. That's a great spot to look. That's what I use in Learning Lab most days, or every day that I have Learning Lab with the students, to make sure they see their homework and know what they have to do. Restrict the use of electronic devices, especially after when it gets close to bedtime. That's one of those things. A lot of times we've had those conversations with caregivers who aren't even aware that their child is playing games or on their phone late into the night. Review the agenda, check off completed homework, and pack a book bag before bed to alleviate any stress in the morning. For communication, we have telephone, email, Twitter, team website, Google Classroom, and the PowerSchool parent portal is also very helpful in addition to your students' PowerSchool.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. So most of this has already been talked about, but everyone keeps talking about Google Classroom. So making sure that students are checking that. Teachers do post a lot in that, and it's super important because a lot of kids who don't have agendas really should be checking the Topaz one, because all the homework for the whole entire team is right there in one single place. All students should have an independent reading book. I know Ms. Harrell's talked about that a lot, so that's something they need to bring to each class. So if they finish their work early, that's something that they can do. Students will have nightly homework, so I just talked about that, checking the team classroom for the homework. Probably the biggest thing about the nose is students should be coming with their binder, their agenda, or their assignment pad, whatever they use to write down their assignments, pencils, paper, calculator. It's already kids come into school that I don't have a pencil, I don't have any paper, I don't have this, I don't have that. So we try to tell them that you should have a supply. These are the things you don't necessarily have to carry around with you. You could keep extras in your locker, but they need to make sure they have that, because we don't have the supplies to be giving them on a daily basis. Every day, give them a pencil or a pen or a highlighter. So that's a pretty important part.
So we're going to continue with subject presentations, and each one of us will give you a little bit more information than what you've already seen in our email last week. So we'll start with Mrs. Harrell.
Okay, so not surprisingly, the two biggest areas of focus in language arts are reading and writing. And I think the most important thing I can convey is that your child should be reading an independent reading book at least 20 minutes a night. There have been so many studies that have been done to show that your eventual level of success is highly tied to how much you read growing up. So you need to ensure that, even though in middle school kids sometimes like to get away from reading every day, that it would be really, really beneficial for them to read at least 20 minutes a night, 20 to 30 minutes. They're also supposed to bring that independent reading book to school every day, like Ms. Crawford just mentioned. And that's especially important for language arts class, because often we use the independent reading book as part of our assignment. Like if we've gone over something that day, now I'll say, okay, now I want you to complete this assignment with the information from your independent reading book. And when kids say, oh, I don't have mine, they're already sort of behind the 8 ball. So encourage your child to bring their independent reading book to school every day and to read it at least 20 minutes a night. I have many hundreds of books in my classroom. So if they need an independent reading book and can't access the school library for any reason, they're always able to check one out from me. In the area of reading, we focus on lots of areas, but primarily we like to focus with 6th graders on making inferences, that deeper level thinking, not just reading the text at the surface, but what can you infer based on what you are seeing. We started the year with that, and just this week we've moved into characterization. So we are looking at how authors develop characters both indirectly and directly using the 5 elements of characterization. So you can ask your kids about that. We learned an acronym, STEAL, which represents the speech, thoughts, effect on others, actions, and looks of a character, and how the authors use those 5 elements to develop a character. Next, we'll move into figurative language. And all through the year, we will focus on using context clues to determine the meaning of vocabulary, so that you're not reliant on a dictionary when you don't know a word. How can you use those context clues in the text to help you figure it out and be a more fluent reader? We'll look at conflict, we'll look at theme, and that's just sort of the tip of the iceberg. In terms of writing, in 6th grade, we focus on narrative writing and expository writing. But this year in particular, I'm going to be focusing them mostly on trying to write a really clear, cohesive paragraph. Because if they can write a clear paragraph with a clear topic sentence, appropriate supporting details and analysis, and a concluding sentence, then they can write a 5-page essay. Because what's a 5-page essay but a bunch of paragraphs that are well constructed and strewn together? So we're going to do a lot of paragraph writing and finding specifically focused on finding evidence that's strong evidence to support whatever it is that you are stating. That's about it.
Sorry, me again, got to unmute. Okay, so in science, we're really focusing on the NGSS, and included in the NGSS, the Next Generation Science Standards, we have science and engineering practices, disciplinary core ideas, and cross-cutting concepts. So science and engineering is just creating, building models, and the disciplinary core ideas really have to do with our units. So our units of study this year will be matter, astronomy, meteorology, ecology, and geology. We'll do a little from each of those units. And then our cross-cutting concepts are themes that have value in all disciplines of science. And grading, I did send home the grading policy, but students will be graded on performance tasks and unit assessments, quizzes, practice, and practice completion. And off I go.
Okay, so math. I teach both honors math and standard math. Basically, the difference between the two is honors math does all the 6th grade units, and we do like 2 or 3 units of the 7th grade. We tend to go at a little bit of a different pace with maybe more of a problem-solving approach. In standard math, what you see right there are all the 6th grade units listed. The grading for math is daily warm-ups that we have, learning checks, problem sets, homework. Homework is not graded. Homework is definitely just an effort grade. So this is a time that kids really need to go home and practice what we did in class to help them better learn it and better understand it. So all I'm checking for is that they actually tried it. Okay. And like I said right there, effort just means evidence. I just need to see something on their paper that they actually tried it. They can go back and look at what we did in class. I always give examples. I give worksheets. I give guided notes. So there's lots of places, and they have their math book they can look back on as well. Showing work, that's a big part of math. Sometimes showing work is more important than the right answer. You can always make a simple computational error. That's why work is so important. So it's not acceptable. I honestly don't accept when I just see an answer. I want to see how students arrived at that answer. Assessments are basic quizzes and unit assessments, and they're always announced. They're always listed in the Topaz Google Calendar. Lots of resources that we use are definitely iExcel, Khan Academy, YouTube, and just like we were talking before, a resource for parents is definitely checking PowerSchool. I try to update it several times a week, just so that you can see and make sure that your student is keeping up with their homework. Oh, one more thing, sorry. My favorite saying that I meant to say at the beginning, because I know math is one of those things I kind of miss, like it being in person, because usually like everyone comes into the room and it's, oh my God, it's math. But my saying is, okay, because I do believe like a positive attitude really helps you, is hate the subject, not the teacher.
So social studies. Social studies is global issues. It's actually kind of a two-part course. So in 6th grade, it's global issues in the Western Hemisphere, and then in 7th grade, it continues into the Eastern Hemisphere. We focus on different global issues. So our hemispheres, in the Western Hemisphere, the regions we focus on are Central America and the Caribbean, South America, Africa, and Europe. And we focus on different kind of global themes or global issues like migration and the movement of people, which we're currently looking at. We focus on human environment interaction and climate change, amongst other things. These skills we focus on, we've kind of become, or I am, kind of an extension of Kim, Ms. Harrell, and ELA. We focus a lot on those reading and writing skills, specifically more with informational text. One of the focuses for us is argument writing, how to write a clear claim, and then find evidence from sources to support reading, comprehension, informational text. So a lot of those similar skills you saw with Ms. Harrell, I focus on as well with inferencing and stop and summarizing and things like that. And we also focus on academic conversation, so how to have an appropriate conversation with someone in a school setting. In addition to that, I didn't put this on there, but we focus on inquiry and research. So I work a lot with the library media specialist, Dave St. Germain, to go over how to do research, use databases, cite sources and Noodle tools, and so on. My grading policy is kind of 3 simple categories. It's assessments, homework, and classwork. Assessments being 70% of that grade, 10% for homework, and 20% for classwork. And that's social studies.
All right, so world language. I teach Spanish and French for students that are studying Chinese this year. Your child's Chinese teacher should have also reached out. However, I will speak on behalf of her that we are all on the same page as far as our goals for the students this year, as well as our grading policy. You'll note that the grading policy is different in world language than it is in all of the other academic subjects. It is the same grading policy for students in grade 6 all the way through at least, I believe, the freshman year of high school. And then I don't know how much more beyond that the grading is the same. I haven't taught the upper levels, so I can't speak on how they grade. However, our focus is on proficiency, and it's their proficiency of communication. So we start them in 6th grade, coming from the elementary school of 2 30-minute classes or so a week to 5 40-minute classes. So it's a big jump. So right now we're starting with some of the basics. On our scale of proficiency, our goal for the students is to go from being a basic user all the way up to a proficient user, meaning that they've started with French, Spanish, or Chinese and continue it all the way through into the high school. So we focus a lot on communication, and the students have already heard me speaking in both Spanish and or French for 42 minutes. That definitely scared my Spanish classes. I believe this year they were a little overwhelmed, but I have assured them that they will definitely be more successful if they listen with a positive mindset and focus on what I'm doing in front of the classroom with the visuals I have on the board and the activities we do, because the only way to learn is to really immerse yourself in that language. So we speak through, write through, listen to a variety of authentic sources. So in addition to myself, I've pulled authentic sources for them to use and to interact with. We have specific themes throughout the year. At the end of the year, all 6th grade world language students in Spanish and French will read a short little mini novel, and we definitely immerse them in culture. So this year, hopefully they've all come home and shared with you that they have adopted escargot. And then the big thing today was the tortugas have finally arrived. And so everybody was on an extended vacation, and we did a little sightseeing in Paris and Madrid just to give them a different lens. Throughout the year, I picked different Francophone and Hispanic countries to focus on, and we look at different aspects of their culture. We do a lot with music throughout the year so that they're immersed in music from different target countries. So with that, we focus on our standards. Our standards are called the 5 C's. They are communication, cultures, connections, comparisons, and communities. And our grading is different because of the type of activities we do. So students are graded on any listening and reading skills, reading activities, in Power School under interpretive tasks. And I do label them listening or reading so that both students and parents and caregivers are aware of what skill it is that they're being assessed on. Their productive tasks include all of their speaking and writing activities. Content knowledge is grammar activities, which we don't do a ton of in 6th grade, but maybe vocabulary activities. So today, students were labeling feelings in French. That's a vocabulary activity. And as we go through the year, the students will start to learn how they're being assessed. So that way, as they go into 7th and 8th grade, they also will be able to recognize in advance of an assignment what it would be like in Power School. And then their last is their commitment to learning, that they're trying to communicate in the target language, that they're raising their hand and participating in class. And there are specific guidelines on the paperwork that I have already sent home.
That means I'm last. I am Shauna's next door neighbor, and I also learn French and Spanish throughout the day. I, again, am one of the special ed resource teachers. I work alongside Janella Quadro in the 6th grade. We also partner with the other resource teachers in the school to provide services for our mandated students. So those are kids who have IEPs and receive services in a variety of ways in different subject areas.
If you have general questions, we would be happy if you wanted to put those in the chat for us. If you have specific questions related to your individual child, we do ask that you reach out either to myself or the academic teacher or the advisor. I know there was a question in the chat a little while ago about Google Classroom. You can be invited as the parent or guardian of your child so you can access their work. If when you go into Google Classroom with your child, if you are unable to figure out the button to push, please feel free to email me and I will have the team teachers add you as the parent or caregiver for each of our Google Classrooms. In about 2 minutes, probably a little less, we're going to divide out into breakout rooms. So if you have specific questions, you would have received in my email different links. So if you have specific content related questions for either Mrs. Harrell or Mr. Fleming, ELA and social studies, you're going to click on their Google Meet invite so that you can ask general questions of them, of their content. If you have specific questions for either Mrs. Crawford or Mrs. Vokey, then it would be the Google Meet link for math and science. If you have specific questions for either myself or Abby, or if you have a quick team question, just stay right here with the two of us. We're going to stay in this Google Meet. And then any questions or to chat further with our amazing UA team. We are fortunate enough to have 3 of them with us this year. You are welcome to click into the link that was sent out to you for them as well. And if you have any general questions that you want to put in the chat, feel free to let us know. I don't know the answer to the mask mandate. I'm so sorry. I can't answer that question. Students are using lockers. Students are encouraged to put things in their locker. So for example, we've encouraged them to put maybe their math workbook in their locker because they have math period 1 and they don't need it until the end of the day, either for Learning Lab or when they go home. We've encouraged them to put their binders. Some of them have double binders. So some have binders for the morning, some have binders for the afternoon. So we've encouraged them to use it for that. We have suggested to them if they do carry a cell phone to keep it off and in their backpack. If a student does need a lock, some of the advisors have provided students with locks for their lockers. Locks can cause a lot of stress for 6th graders. So unfortunately, we haven't given them out to everybody, but if a student wants one, if you want your child to have one, just send the advisor an email and they will make sure to get that for them. Did I miss any? I don't know if I missed any other questions. I can't speak, unfortunately, to any COVID information because that is beyond our level of expertise. If there aren't any other questions, I am going to let everybody else leave. Oh, thank you, Principal, right? And do you want to pop in and say hello and introduce yourself? Mr. Gussie was able to as well.
Hello, I'm Joy Wright. It's great to have all of you here. Thank you for being here. And I was able to pop in earlier. Wonderful presentation. And so if you need anything, of course, reach out to any of us. We're happy to help you. I know Mr. Gussie's taking wonderful care of you, but I can be a support as well.
So if you have specific questions, I'm going to let the team teachers head out into their breakout rooms. I'm going to let the UA teachers head out to theirs. Abby and I will stay here for world language questions, special ed questions that are general. and or team related questions that we can continue to answer for you. Tomorrow in our Friday update, we will send home the recording and the slideshow. And we're encouraging all students to wear orange tomorrow. Our Team Spirit Day for Topaz is wear orange. So I will find my orange kindness shirt and I will be rocking that tomorrow. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. We will stay on for those of you that need us, and we will let you go to